Joining us right now from Goal.com, Rudi Schuller. Rudi, welcome, my friend.
How's it going?
Very good, Rudi. Really appreciate you making time tonight, but let's get right into it. As a guy, Rudi, that has attended, I believe, each and every TFC game once again this year. You might have missed one. I'm not sure. I think you did. And you're at a lot of the training sessions, and you've done this not just for a year, but for many years. How does this feel? You're actually now going to be talking about TFC and the Montreal Impact, two Canadian clubs, playing in an Eastern Conference final. How do you see this through your eyes and through your heart? How does this feel?
It's quite I don't know. Sometimes I feel a little bit speechless because if you think back to some of those darker years, especially when I fully started covering TFC back in 2012 full time, that was just about the abyss for that club. It didn't seem like anything was going right on the field, off the field. Everything was just awful. Fans were discontent and just everything seemed to be going wrong. And to have things turn around so much in a few short years, it's quite groundbreaking for Canadian soccer. Within MLS, of course, for the both clubs to be there where they are right now, and don't forget Vancouver as well. They've done some great stuff over there. And it just I think what it does is it shows what the possibilities are, because we've already known that soccer can be big in Canada, in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and to a lesser extent some of the other cities, but the three big cities, of course. And it just shows just how big domestic soccer can be here, and I think that's something we all across the country need to kind of grab hold of, and maybe see this as a catalyst for something bigger.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's stay on that just for a quick minute. I'll be very honest, and people have watched and seen my Twitter yesterday. Came from Ottawa, first Montreal, and then Ottawa yesterday, to two big, important, productive meetings. Do you believe, Rudi, what you just said, that it is, given more of an appetite? It is re-energized even more this Canadian footy public all across this country, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, we talked about, but has it really ignited an interest more in Regina, in Saskatoon, in Halifax, Calgary, everywhere in between? Do you believe this is starting to do that for the country?
I certainly hope so, and I think we've seen evidence of it elsewhere. We've seen evidence of it with the national teams, the women's national team, the way they captured the Canadian attention over the past few years. We've even seen it on a smaller scale with the men's national team, where they unfortunately haven't been very successful on the field. But at the gate, they've been doing better and better every single year, and we're starting to see it. Just the knock-on effects. And I think if it takes the big three cities to lead the way, then so be it. But I think for sure we're going to need to see some more of that in the smaller cities, and hopefully, that's what these other developments are about. But this is kind of what we've hoped for since MLS was announced here in Canada, was that maybe it's not giving enough playing time to Canadians, but it's capturing Canadians' attention, and it's capturing their imaginations, so that the younger guys, the guys who are watching now, the 10-year-olds that are in the crowd right now, they decide that they want to suit up, and in 10, 15 years, they want to play for TFC, for Montreal, for Vancouver, or whoever else might be around. So I think that's what that's what excites me. Is of course it excites me to see people grabbing onto the game right now, but I think it excites me more for the future.
Well, it's funny you said that, Rudi. I mean, I have a 19 and 23-year-old boys at home, and on the weekend I was in contact via phone and email and text message and whatever, and not once did they talk about, oh, Dad, did you see the Leafs dismantle the Canucks? Or, Dad, did you hear the rumors about, I'm losing a brain cramp here, with the Jays? We just talked about it, 5 years. Encarnacion, 5 years at 125. No, Dad, do you think Pirlo's going to suit up? What do you think the formation's going to be? And then, you leave church on Sunday morning, and people ask you, what do you think, Anthony? I mean, the buzz is there, Rudi, and I think this is what's important. It's starting to pick up more and more. And I believe it could really one day, not now, but I really believe one day we could be talking about TFC possibly nipping at the heels at either the Jays or the Leafs to get that second spot. Maybe never the first, but maybe the second, Rudi.
Yeah, you know what? The sky's the limit. I mean, you just, as you mentioned, you just talk about it now. It's like, of course, now TFC has the spotlight because there's no other playoffs going on for other teams. Of course, the Leafs and the Raptors have started off their season, but it's still very early in the season, and nobody really, they don't really capture the imagination of the city in the early season. It's when the playoffs hit. So now the spotlight's on TFC because the Jays are out, and everything's kind of coming together for TFC, and not just TFC. Of course, we're also talking about the Impact as well, and the fact that they're kind of doing this together, and they're going to be playing against each other, and we're probably going to see a sold out, Olympic Stadium and a sold out BMO Field that's going to be expanded because of the Grey Cup. I mean, that's awesome, and it's again, like I said, just a few short years ago. I don't know if I believe if you had told me that this would be happening right now.
Let's discuss this Canadian Derby coming up. No need to discuss that dismantling yesterday of New York City FC. We've done it, and there's not much more really to say. So let's focus on the Montreal Impact here, Rudy. Drew Moore said this, I believe, a couple days ago, and I also heard this from the Montreal locker room from a good close friend of mine that's in there each and every day. And they're both equally a close-knit bunch of players on each team. And in this locker room, Drew Moore said he has never been felt so much like the love, the connection with his teammates on this team like any other team. I'm hearing it the same from the Montreal locker room, even after the Drogba stuff happened. These are two united, two veteran-savvy teams. And to me, I believe it's going to come down to this, Rudy. You break it down because you break it down just as good as anyone. The way Oyango's been playing, Simon and Camara and Cabrera, the Montreal defense, they're going to hack, whack, and be physical with Giovinco and Altidore. I think, to me, that is going to be the most important part of this two-legged series to watch. They can both score, they can both defend, but I believe that is the key. You?
I mean, that's a very good point. The last time we saw these teams play each other, well, that's not the last time. Sorry, the last time they played at BMO was the last time that Giovinco played them. That's exactly what was happening, and that was the game that Giovinco got injured. He was out for 2 months. Was back in August when Montreal won for the first time ever at BMO Field, and they were giving him the gears. They were taking him down at any possible time. They were letting him know that they were there. They were kicking his shins. They were doing whatever they could to stop him. And at the Big O, it's going to be another step towards that because on a harder field, on a harder surface, on an artificial turf, they're certainly going to play physical. But I think what we've seen over the past few weeks with TFC is that they can dish it out just as well as they could take it. I wouldn't have said the same thing, back in the summer. I would have said they're not shrinking violets, but they definitely don't dish it out the way they have been over the last few games. I think Armando Cooper is a guy who likes to get under the skin of the opponents, and we saw that with David Villa, and we saw that with Philadelphia as well. And we'll see that again with Montreal. And Michael Bradley's playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and Josie Altidore, of course, is a big physical, strong guy. So there's all sorts of little subplots and subtext, and I'm really looking forward to the series. And it's kind of a shame that the international break is coming up because I was hoping, keep the momentum going and have something going this weekend. But it might be a good thing to have a little break and build up the hype a little bit more.
And let's hope for TFC fans that they pray a little extra that nothing happens to the two main important pieces of the puzzle to this team along with Giovinco, and that's Altidore and Bradley, because boy, oh boy, would that be an unbelievable blow. Lastly, before we let you go, Rudy, I believe there is a huge advantage for TFC on the bench, the guys coming off the bench. We know that Drogba will come off from Montreal. We know that because he's not fully fit. He might be when the time the first leg comes around to start. I doubt it. Biello is drawing the line. He's going to come off the bench. That's it. I look at TFC's bench, and when you can call up an MLS Cup winner from last year and a Canadian international like Will Johnson, Cheru, you can put in a Ricketts, who has been an unbelievable weapon. And then I look at Montreal. With all due respect to Colin Malice, he has not really been impressive. And then Donny Toya. Venegas has been okay. I can actually live with Venegas and Drogba, but I give the advantage to TFC. Where do you see if there's any advantage between these two?
It's exactly where you said it was. I agree with you. I think the advantage is in the depth and in the MLS experience. It's a very interesting dichotomy if you look at the way the two clubs are built. TFC is very CONCACAF heavy. It's very Canadian American. They got Armando Cooper's Panamanian. They got a couple other guys, and of course they got Chiru. But for the most part, it's a very very North American built team. So then they would be the team that would know how to go through MLS. And if you look at Montreal, it's a very international flavor. They got, of course, the Piattis, Mancuso, Donadell, those types of players that have been there in Europe. But it's a different ball game in the playoffs. It's a different kind of thing. So I'm very interested to see those two styles clash. But I do think that TFC has the edge when it comes to the bench. You mentioned the names like that, but then there's even guys like Jordan Hamilton, who hasn't gotten a lot of time lately since Alter has been back. Jay Chapman has been excellent when he came in. Alex Bono did such a great job in net when Clint Irwin was out. So just go down the line. This is the deepest TFC team we've ever seen, and one of the deepest in MLS over the past 5 years. And it's going to be a very tough task for Montreal to last over two legs against Toronto that is flying high right now. So I'm really looking forward to it, as you can hear in my voice, and I was wishing it was this week.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it as well, Rudy. On a side note, in a minute or less, my gut tells me, and I'm also very wary of this, that Seattle could get through. And then if TFC could get through, that's fantastic because the final will be here. My head tells me that they could possibly pull off what Portland did. Sneak in, get into the playoffs, fire a coach, and then win it all. Because the way Seattle's been playing, Rudy, watch out. They can take anyone down right now.
Yeah, Seattle, you know what? Seattle is benefiting also from a newcomer named Nicholas Lodeiro, who's having the impact, no pun intended, that Didier Drogba had on his team last year. A guy who just came in and provided exactly what the team needed. That's what Nicholas Lodeiro is doing, and they're riding that hot hand. And, of course, they've got Jordan Morris. They've got a bunch of other good players. They don't have a complete team the way that the rest of the teams that are left over do. I think they're actually the thinnest of the teams in terms of talent. But the guys, the 11, I think they can go toe-to-toe. I just don't think they have the depth to beat a Colorado, over two legs. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. They can do it. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to call any series right now. I just look forward to seeing some great action
and some good food in the press box as well, Rudy. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Rudy, thanks again for making time, my friend. Keep up the great work at goal.com.
You too, buddy. Thanks for having me.